The cave was a gaping maw in the earth, an entrance into the very bowels of the world. It yawned wide and deep, a jagged portal leading into the unknown. It was said that no one had ever ventured far into the cave and returned to tell the tale. There were whispers of strange noises and ghostly apparitions, and tales of creatures that lurked in the darkness, waiting to pounce on any foolish enough to venture inside. But for me and my friends, that only added to the thrill of exploring it. We were a group of 4, all in our early 20s, and we fancied ourselves as adventurers. We had come to the cave to explore, to see what secrets it held, to experience the thrill of danger. We had all heard the stories, but we laughed them off as nothing more than the ramblings of superstitious locals. We had flashlights, ropes, and a few supplies, but we were determined to go as far into the cave as we could. We had been walking for hours, our flashlights barely penetrating the thick darkness. The air was damp and musty, and the only sounds were the echoes of our footsteps and the occasional drip of water from the ceiling. We had come across a few forks in the path, but we had always managed to pick the right one. It was only when we came to a large chamber that things started to take a turn for the worse. The chamber was huge, easily the size of a football field. The ceiling was so high that our flashlights could barely reach it, and the walls were rough and uneven. There were stalactites and stalagmites everywhere, giving the chamber an eerie, otherworldly feel. But that wasn't the worst of it. In the center of the chamber was a large pool of water, its surface as black as the void. We could hear the faint sound of rushing water coming from somewhere deep within the cave. We were all mesmerized by the pool, its dark surface seeming to draw us in. It wasn't until one of us pointed out the smell that we realized something was wrong. It was a foul, putrid odor, the kind that makes you want to gag. We shone our flashlights around the chamber, trying to find the source of the smell, but we couldn't see anything. That was when we heard it. A faint scratching sound coming from somewhere deep within the cave. At first, we thought it was just our imaginations, but as the sound grew louder, we realized that something was moving towards us. Panic set in as we shone our flashlights around the chamber, looking for the source of the noise. That was when we saw it. It was a creature unlike anything we had ever seen before. It was about the size of a large dog, but it had scales instead of fur, and its eyes glowed with an eerie green light. It moved towards us slowly, its long, pointed tail dragging on the ground behind it. We were frozen with fear, unable to move as the creature approached. That was when we heard the scream. It was a sound of pure terror, the kind that makes your blood run cold. It was one of our friends, and we knew that we had to act fast if we were going to save him. We grabbed our ropes and tied them together, making a makeshift lasso. Then we threw it over the creature's head, hoping to trap it. But the creature was too quick. It dodged out of the way, snarling and snapping its jaws. We could see its teeth, razor sharp and gleaming in the darkness. We knew that we were in trouble. That was when we heard the second scream. It was coming from deeper in the cave, and it sounded more desperate than the first. Without thinking, we all started running towards the sound, our flashlights swinging wildly in our hands. The creature was still behind us, but it seemed to be staying back for the moment, as if it knew that it had us trapped. As we ran, we could hear the sound of water getting louder and louder. We knew that we were getting close to the source of the rushing water that we had heard earlier. We rounded a corner and saw a sight that made our blood run cold. There, in the middle of a large chamber, was a group of people. They were all huddled together, their faces twisted in fear. They were surrounded by creatures like the one that had been chasing us. But there were more of them, a whole pack of them. They were snarling and snapping, their eyes glowing in the darkness. We knew that we had to act fast. We had to save those people before it was too late. We grabbed our ropes and started swinging them around our heads, trying to keep the creatures at bay. But there were too many of them, and they were too quick. We were outnumbered, and we knew that we couldn't hold them off forever. That was when we heard the third scream. It was coming from above us, and it sounded like it was right on top of us. We looked up and saw something that made our hearts stop. There, on the ceiling of the chamber, was a creature unlike any of the others. It was huge, easily the size of a car, and it was covered in thick, leathery skin. Its eyes were glowing red, and it had a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth. It was staring down at us, its wings flapping slowly. We knew that we were in deep trouble. We had never seen anything like this before, and we had no idea how to fight it. We tried to run, but the creatures were too fast. They were all around us, snarling and snapping. We were trapped with no way out. That was when it attacked. It swooped down from the ceiling, its wings creating a blast of wind that knocked us off our feet. We could feel its claws digging into our flesh, tearing us apart. We could hear the screams of our friends, but they were soon drowned out by the sound of our own screams. And then suddenly, it was over. The creature had flown off, leaving us lying on the ground, bleeding and broken. We could hear the sound of rushing water getting louder, and we knew that we had to get out of there before it was too late. We stumbled to our feet and started running as fast as we could. We ran through the cave, heart pounding in our chest, the sound of our footsteps echoing off the walls. Suddenly, we heard the flapping of wings coming our way. In seconds, we could feel the creature's hot breath on the back of our necks, its snarls and growls getting closer and closer. We could see a light up ahead, the mouth of the cave drawing near. We ran faster, our lungs burning with the effort. But just as we reached the exit, the creature caught up to us. It grabbed one of us, a young woman, by the ankle, and dragged her back into the darkness. We could hear her screams echoing through the cave, growing fainter and fainter until they were silenced altogether. We didn't stop to mourn her. We had to keep running. We emerged from the cave, gasping for breath, our hearts still pounding in our chests. We fell to the ground, exhausted and terrified. We looked back at the mouth of the cave, expecting to see the creature emerge, but it never did. Instead, we heard a low rumbling sound, and the ground beneath us started to shake. We scrambled to our feet and stumbled away from the cave, but it was too late. The ground beneath us split open, and a huge creature emerged from the darkness. It was unlike anything we had ever seen before, a massive, writhing mass of tentacles and teeth. It towered over us, blotting out the sun, its eyes glowing with a supernatural light. We tried to run, but it was no use. The creature was too fast, too powerful. It snatched us up in its tentacles, one by one, crushing us with its massive jaws. We screamed and thrashed, but it was no use. We were no match for this monster. We were swallowed up by the creature's gaping maw, consumed by its insatiable hunger. As we were pulled deeper into the creature's belly, we could hear the sound of our bones snapping and our flesh tearing. We could feel the hot acid burning away our skin, melting us down to our very bones. We tried to pray, but our words were lost in the darkness. We tried to scream, but our voices were silenced by the roar of the beast. We were consumed, devoured, erased from existence by this abomination. And then there was nothing. No light, no sound, no sensation. We were gone, consumed by the darkness, consumed by the horror. The cave remained silent, the mouth gaping open like a hungry maw. And yet, from deep within its belly, a low rumbling sound could be heard. It was the sound of the creature, digesting its latest meal, savoring the taste of our flesh. Our bodies were gone, but our spirits remained, trapped within the belly of the beast. We were devoured by darkness, erased from existence. And yet somehow we still existed, trapped within the monster. We were guzzled by the cave, guzzled by the horror, and we would remain there forever, trapped in the belly of the beast, consumed by its eternal hunger.